Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, better known as just Supergirl, releases this week. And since the announcement of this movie, we have known that this movie was going to take strong influence from the comic run Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. That's right, it's time for my quarterly DC video before I inevitably make 15 straight videos just about Marvel. Considering I just started a little quirky page-to-picture series comparing moments from the comics to moments on the big screen, and the fact that it's always fun to see how directors spin moments from the comics and stories from the comics, I figured, hey, why don't I make a video covering the original Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow so everyone knows what happened in the original story, so they know what to look out for during the movie and they can spot the differences as well. So let's do it. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Also, ignore the getup that I got on. You know, I just got work after this, so at least it's blue. At least I got the same color scheme going on. Actually, hold on. Let me show y'all something real quick. I can get even more in what is it, in style? I don't know. I could get more blue. Watch this. No, hold on. That's the wrong one. Yeah, there we go. Now we're all blue. Yeah, you guys can't really see me, can you? There we go. That's better. All right, let's get into this. So this story is narrated from the perspective of an old woman named Ruthie Knoll. Ruthie, I don't know. I'm just going to call her Ruth. She tells us the story of how she met Supergirl, which was most definitely not under the best circumstances. See, when Ruth was probably 12 or 13, her father was murdered by the hands of a King's agent named Krem. Her planet is ruled by a king who sends out King's agents to basically murder anyone who doesn't like their king. I'm sure there's like a world leader somewhere that would love to do the same. So Krem stabs her father, and Ruth is the first to see him. So she makes it her mission to track down Krem and kill him. But she's just a little girl, so instead of being stupid and trying to take him head on, she tries to take the sword that was used to stab him and offer it to any bounty hunter that would listen to her in exchange for killing Krem. She finds herself in a tavern where the bounty hunter she talks to is actually a friend of Krem and tries to take the sword from her by force and slaps her. Unfortunately for him though, a drunken Kara Zor-El is sitting at a table nearby trying to celebrate her 21st birthday. Apparently Ruth's planet orbits a red sun, which limits Kryptonians' abilities and allows them to get drunk. But she is not drunk to the point where she can't fuck up this bounty hunter for Ruth and give her the sword back. Ruth is awestruck, right? She just saw some girl boss completely emasculate some dude that likes to hit women as much as the average red pillar. So she tries to get Kara to kill Krem, but Kara, abiding by her no killing rule, says no, as Ruth would just feel worse afterwards. But Ruth is persistent and follows Kara all the way back to her ship, where Krypto is chilling as well. Kara starts telling Ruth to get away because she put her ship in auto start mode, and if she's right in the vicinity of the ship when it takes off, she'll get hurt. But at that moment, the bounty hunter that Ruth was talking to earlier and Krem show up to ambush them. Kara and Krypto, weakened by the red sun, got shot and hurt by the arrows, and Ruth gets humiliated trying to get her get back. Now those arrows were tipped with hunting poison for some reason. There's no way that they knew that Kara had a dog on her. I guess maybe. Either way, that poison starts to get into Krypto's blood and he starts to die. The only way that a healer can make an antidote for the poison is if they know specifically what went into the hunter's poison. Problem is, Krem just so happened to take off in Supergirl's ship. So now it's settled. They gotta go find Krem to save Krypto. Now the rest of the story details Supergirl and Ruth traveling across the galaxy to multiple planets trying to track down Krem. And we're gonna go through them because I think they're really cool. These are some of the coolest places that I feel like I've ever been described, or at least one of them I think is really cool. But I wanna call this out right now because it does really give a vibrant nature to this story. That, along with the diverse characters that are introduced in this story, explains why everyone thought that the movie was just going to be like Guardians of the Galaxy. Because that's just the nature of this story. But fun fact, this story is just a space adventure version of the Western novel True Grit. That story is about a teenage girl who goes on a journey to kill the hitman that killed her father. Along the way, she joins forces with a couple people, including a Texas Ranger, and this novel is even narrated by the future version of that girl, just like in this story. Now, I don't really know anything about this Western novel, but I figured I'd just put it out there because that is the direct influence of this comic book. But all right, let's get into space adventures. Kara and Ruth's first stop was to Maypole, but I figured I should point out some cool things that happened on the journey to there. While at a bar, some guy whose brothers were put in the Phantom Zone by Superman confronts Kara. Apparently, since he can't get to Superman, he'll settle for her. Pretty dumb move. Then, at a rest station in space, a space dragon, yes, a space dragon, attacked everyone. I swear to God, Craig, if this is not in the movie, I will find you. Now, Supergirl is still recovering from being on a red sun, and she is still not at full strength. So she takes some red kryptonite pills from an old lady and uses that to summon the Phoenix Force. The old lady claims they're for her anxiety, but you know, these pills are like psychedelics to non-Kryptonians. It's like when my grandpa smokes weed around me and he's like, oh, don't worry, it's for medical reasons. And I'm like, no, the fuck it's not, all right? Stop lying. Either way, this moment is really cool and it better be recreated in live action. These moments in between planets are where Ruth learns who Supergirl truly is. She learns about her backstory, how strong she is, and she learns about her morals as well. And these moments are important for Ruth because at this moment in the story, she eats, sleeps, and breathes vengeance. And she doesn't think anything else will cure her internal pain. But this all-powerful God who lost her entire planet still hasn't casted vengeance upon the entire galaxy, even though she's been through so much. So yeah, maybe Ruth needs to calm down a little bit, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about Maypole because this is legit one of my favorite parts of this story. And I understand that it probably won't be a big part of the movie if used at all because I feel like that could have its own little story. So, you know, if they don't put it in a movie, y'all better make like a side movie or some TV show. I don't care. I need Maypole in this DCU. So Maypole gives off an odd vibe immediately. Supergirl and Ruth show up and ask who I think is their equivalent of a police chief in town, the whereabouts of Krem, because she heard that he had been arrested here a few weeks ago. Bro is completely uninterested in talking with them. He tells them that he has no clue who this Krem guy is, and then he tells them to fuck off because, I mean, clearly he's got cards to stack. And Kara does what we all would do in this situation. They check into a hotel where the lady at the desk makes an emphasis on the absence of purple people, and clearly there's some undertone of racism towards those people. Like Supergirl even tries to pry on why there's an emphasis towards no purple people, and the lady gets a bit aggressive. The next morning at a diner, Supergirl notices that a sign out the front used to say no purples. You know, it's like the places in the South that would, you know, say no blacks, no colored, you know, whites only. You know, some of those signs are still up. Like I went to like this really small town. There's a small town that a lot of my family, at least on my mom's side, I guess my grandma's side, we kind of originated from this really small town in Mississippi. But if you go to some like place like just outside of it, you know, you could still see like there's still signs up. I mean, they don't mean anything now, of course, but they're just there. And it's like, why the fuck are they still up? She tries to question the waitress about this, and the waitress gets aggressive as well. Weird, right? Kara goes around asking all about the purples and where they are. She gets the same answers. Then their hotel room gets shot up that night. Obviously, Kara protected Ruth, and then she delivers the shooters right to the police chief. And he doesn't do shit about it. You know, Kara and Ruth do a bit of digging, and they discover that there was an extinction of a whole people. So there's this group in the galaxy called the Brigands who just love killing people. They kill, they torture, then they kill some more. They love it. So they show up to Maypole a few weeks ago, which at that point had purples, but they were living segregated. Blue were the rich folk and the purple were the proles. Krem was already locked in jail, but he actually convinced one of the Brigands to let him free and let him join their forces, because he gave them the idea to take a bribe from the rich blues, which was a bunch of money to kill only the purples, and the rest was history. It's actually a crazy realization to be made. Like a whole group of people were just erased and buried just because they looked different. Now the story of Maypole is just the beginning, as Supergirl and Ruth go from town to town, planet to planet, seeing the remains of the Brigands' destruction, still trying to track down Krem. These experiences get worse and worse, some that old lady Ruth won't even describe to us. But one thing I think is really important about these is that at every place they go to, Kara makes sure that she makes some sort of impact on that place before she takes off to the next one. Whether it be something as simple as just helping them dig graves for their lost people, or helping one of the remaining soldiers of an army that got slaughtered regain the confidence to fight back if the Brigands ever return. It's all integral to Supergirl's character, but it's especially great because she's doing this in Ruth's presence, who really needs to see the other side of how to react to pain and trauma. Now, it seems they did a damn good job of tracking down Krem because they literally fly right past him without even realizing it, probably because their minds were still clouded by the horrors that they had seen at the hands of the Brigands. Either way, Krem now has a Mordru globe, which teleports them to a world where Superman had been sent to in attempts to kill him. The sun here is green, and green suns poison Kryptonians. On top of that, there's predators galore. So, you know, as they die slowly internally, they will also die externally from an external threat. Either way, this is a test of endurance for both because Kara has to fight for her life internally and Ruth has to protect Kara externally from any predator that tries to come and take a nibble. It's not an easy task either, but as night falls, Kara regains her strength and manages to get them off of that terrible planet. So they head back and capture Krem, but on the way, Kara tells Ruth about her full story. And during that recollection, Ruth's desire for vengeance starts to break because she now sees someone that has lost way more than her, someone that holds back, someone that helps people, someone that tries to inspire others, someone that, if she wanted to, could literally take out her rage on the entire universe with no one stopping her. And she doesn't. But we'll see the effects of that talk later. First, Ruth has one more battle with her demons, and Kara has to lose a friend. So when they get back to where Krem was, he already had another Mordru globe made. And you see, Mordru globes are magic, so it's something that Kara as a Kryptonian can't really escape. She can't outrun it. But of course, Kara had a plan. So she brought along her lover, Comet. Yes, that's a horse. That's a discussion for another video. Don't worry about it right now. After Krem throws the globe, she rides Comet to the edge of space-time continuum. Because of that, the regular laws of the world don't work, and she manages to dissipate the globe. With that, Krem's fucked. So now they have Krem in captivity, but the Brigands are on their tail, and they are persistent. So Kara takes Krem, Comet, and Ruth to an island on Florinine, where Krem was tied up and Comet was told to keep Ruth from killing him, while Kara went off to go deal with the Brigands. Now to start, the fight between Kara and the Brigands, it went as you thought. The Kryptonian whooped ass. But just like everyone else in the universe, the Brigands, you know, they just had a little bit of kryptonite on them. At least enough to chain her up and make one bullet. So now Kara's about to get shot, and Comet can tell from the island. So he flies up to the ship to help Kara, against her own request. And the Brigands are ready for him, and he is shot dead. The death of someone you love can never be easy, no matter how many times you experience it. So Kara breaks free of her chains, and she teaches them a bit of a lesson. But before we continue with that part of the story, let's talk about what happens between Ruth and Krem on the island. Like mentioned before, Comet was keeping Ruth from killing Krem. At some point, Comet at least allows her to get close to Krem, and she takes off his gag. Probably the worst decision of hers. Krem starts chatting hard, getting her angry, disrespecting her father, and he admits that he didn't kill her father because he was disloyal to the king. Her father actually loved the king. Krem actually killed him because he didn't like that her father was talking down to him when he saw himself as way above what her father was at. Krem actually killed her father because of his own pride. The feeling of being looked down by someone of such a lower class, as he called him. It's basically just him thinking in his mind in the moment, how dare this peasant talk to me like this? And that's why he killed him. Just letting it sink in how much he really didn't respect Ruth or her family. Now at this point, Comet had already taken off to save Supergirl, or at least try to. And now that Ruth had heard this guy spit on her father's grave, she figured it was time to end this. But she wants it to be a fair fight because she doesn't just want to kill him. She also wants to humiliate and harm him. So she cuts him free and they fight. One blade, one survivor. And Ruth, through all her time with Supergirl, actually picked up some things. And she really gives it to Krem. Multiple boosts to the face. She slices his fingers off. She literally bites into his forearm. She hates this man with all of her spirit. But when it comes time to bring the blade to his neck, she can't do it. And as Supergirl descends back down to the island, Comet retransformed into his human body. In her arms, Ruth confesses the impact Kara had on her and how her continuing to be a symbol of hope through all her pain and suffering has really touched her. And that was Kara's point. We learned at this moment that Kara didn't actually need Krem to save Krypto. Supergirl figured out how to save Krypto before they even left for their journey. Kara did all of this just to teach Ruth that vengeance is not the solution. So what do they do with Krem? Well, they put him in the Phantom Zone for 300 years. And when he gets let out, Ruth is the old woman that detailed this story. Now, Krem is a different man. He's remorseful of his past actions, especially Ruth's father, but, you know, Ruth isn't gonna forgive him because it's her dad, and she smacks him with her cane before walking off. But the big thing about all of this is that Ruth did not lose herself while hunting for vengeance her whole life. And that's what Supergirl wanted the entire time. And these types of lessons are my favorite, especially from Supergirl or Superman, because these two could take the easy route before you and I even finish blinking, but the easy way out isn't always the right way out. And these two seem to think that it's their mission to show that to other people as well, and using their godlike powers to go all out when doing so. This immediately reminded me of the Superman story, What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, because it's the same type of thing where Superman needs to prove to these vigilantes that their lack of care in the way they approach justice is wrong. And he does that by depicting himself in the same way that they operate, which is just a superhero with no bounds, no limits, and no morals. And it's scary as shit. Those stories are always my favorite, and that's why this comic is one of my favorites as well. So that is the original Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is what this upcoming movie is about. How similar will it be? I'm not sure. We see Ruth. We see what I think is Kara fighting on the brigand ship. I'm pretty sure this is Krem. He looks different, but I don't think that's that big of a deal. I don't recall Comet being in the trailer at all, unless I just have bad memory. And Lobo is being added to this movie. Probably some sort of bounty hunter trying to stop Supergirl and Ruth from tracking down Krem. I'm not sure, but that's the beauty of adaptations. They are rarely one-to-one, which allows for new cool shit to happen and new things to be explored. But yeah, that's gonna be all for today. If you like what you saw here, make sure to hit the like button, sub if you're new to the channel. If you weren't planning on watching Supergirl before, I think you should check it out. This original story is really good. It's one of my favorites, and I think it at least looks like it's going to be translated to the movie directly. So as long as the messaging is the same, I think it's going to be a great movie. And honestly, I think the DCU is on the rise right now. We're getting a bunch of quality content. I mean, we've got that Clayface movie coming out, and I think October. If any of you guys have seen the leaks from the I think it's called Man of Tomorrow movie, that looks crazy as well. But yeah, genuinely, I think if you weren't thinking about it beforehand, I think this is a really good movie to kind of explain who Supergirl is, and honestly just who her and Superman are as people. Make sure to check out my Countdown to Doomsday series on my channel. I'm going through every single MCU project, covering it, ranking it, and then you guys also will be able to rank it as well. We're just gonna have full tier lists for all the MCU projects right before Doomsday comes out. Right now, I gotta get out Captain America Winter Soldier, which is recorded, don't worry, I'm editing it. I also mentioned my little page to picture series. Feel free to go in the comments and let me know of any comic moments that, you know, I can't really think of right now that were directly translated to the big screen, or maybe even like the TV screen, and I'll put them down for future videos. But yeah, like I said before, like the video if you like what you saw here, sub to the channel if you're new. Ooh, goddamn. Sub to the channel if you're new. Videos will always be on the way. And as always, thank you for watching.